Why most people fail. They can't master themselves. There is a war going on inside you. A silent, invisible battle waged every day, not against the world, not against your circumstances, not against your competitors, but against the weakest version of you. And most people? They lose that battle long before the sun even rises. They lose it the moment they hit snooze. They lose it when they choose comfort over commitment, when they let fear dictate their next move, when they betray their dreams just to fit in with the mediocre. They fail, not because they weren't gifted, not because they weren't capable, not because opportunity never came, but because they never learned how to rule over themselves. Mastery is not external. It's not the title on your business card or the size of your bank account. It's not the applause you collect or the trophies on your shelf. Mastery is internal.
It's the qui est inchacable commando vers your emotion, your focus, your discipline.
It's how you speak to yourself when nobody's watching. It's the courage to act even when doubt is screaming in your ears. It's the ability to delay what you want now for what you truly want most. This is why most people fail. Because the hardest work in the world is the work you do on yourself. They'll read the books, watch the videos, take the courses, say the affirmations. But when the time comes to face the mirror and kill the part of themselves that keeps sabotaging their greatness, they flinch. They retreat. They justify. They would rather blame the world than hold themselves accountable. They would rather stay comfortable than confront the uncomfortable truth. You are your only real enemy, and your only real hope. Napoleon Hill once wrote that self-discipline begins with the mastery of your thoughts. If you do not control your thoughts, you cannot control your needs, your desires, your impulses. Think about that. Every ambition you have, every goal, every dream, every breakthrough, will either be built or destroyed by how well you can master your impulses. And most people? They're slaves to them. They are owned by distractions. Owned by instant gratification. Owned by the little voice that says, it's too hard, it's not fair, you're tired, you've done enough for today. But the few, the rare few who rise, they are ruthless with that voice. They confront it. They command it. They shape their thoughts the way a sculptor shapes stone, chipping away every excuse, every weakness, every lie they've been told or chosen to believe. Because here's the truth, discipline is not a punishment. It is a path to freedom. The man who wakes before dawn to train is not a masochist, he is a builder. He is building a mind that won't bend under pressure, a body that won't quit when others fall, a spirit that won't be broken when life throws its worst.
Every time you say no to distraction, you say yes to your destiny. Every time you reject confort, you invite greatness.
Every time you choose to act, not because you feel like it, but because you decided to, you take back control of your life. Because success is self-authorship. It is writing your own story, moment by moment, choice by choice. And failure? Failure is handing the pen to fear, laziness, and other people's opinions. Let me ask you this. When did you stop being the author of your own life? When did you start letting the world write your script? You weren't born to be controlled.
You weren't born to be average.
But most people trade their power for comfort, their fire for approval. They are masters of excuses, but slaves to their emotions. Henry Ford wasn't a genius inventor. He didn't discover something the world had never seen before. He simply believed that if he could discipline his thinking, he could change the world. And he did.
Thomas Edison failed 10,000 times.
Not because he was unlucky, but because he was relentless. Because he trained his mind to see failure not as defeat, but as feedback. That level of self-mastery is what separates the visionary from the victim. But today, we have a generation that worships dopamine and ridicules discipline. A culture obsessed with shortcuts, hacks, and instant success, but allergic to long-term effort. We scroll endlessly, searching for motivation, when what we need is transformation. And transformation only happens when you do the thing you said you'd do, long after the mood has left. Let me be blunt, your future depends on whether you can win the inner war. Not once. Not occasionally. But every single day. The man or woman who can command their own mind, who can silence the noise, tame their emotions, delay gratification, and stay loyal to a vision no one else sees, is unstoppable. Not lucky. Not privileged. Not chosen. Unstoppable, because they've made themselves so. And here's what no one wants to hear, mastery is lonely. While the masses sleep in, you rise. While others indulge, you abstain. While they seek comfort, you walk through fire. Not because you hate life, but because you love your purpose more. Because the pain of discipline is always less than the pain of regret. If you want to know why most people fail, it's this. They never build the strength to say no to their lesser selves. They live in reaction mode. They are driven by feelings, by distractions, by the winds of circumstance, not by principles, not by purpose. But you don't have to be most people. You don't have to let your past define your potential. You don't have to let your fears write your future.
You can master yourself.
And when you do, the world changes. Not because it suddenly becomes easier, but because you become stronger. Because you've become someone who no longer negotiates with weakness. Someone who doesn't run from discomfort, but trains in it. Someone who doesn't need permission to be great, because you've already decided to be. And that decision changes everything. You see, life doesn't hand greatness to those who want it. It hands it to those who demand it, from themselves. And that demand is not shouted into the sky, not posted for others to see. It is whispered deep in your soul over and over again, in moments of solitude. In moments when no one is watching and you choose the harder path anyway. Because that is self-mastery. It's what separates the one who starts from the one who finishes.
You don't need more motivation. You don't need someone to clap for you, cheer for you, validate you.
You need the discipline to act without applause. You need the strength to walk alone. You need the vision to see beyond what is and commit to what could be. Andrew Carnegie once said, "A man who acquires the ability to take full possession of his own mind may take possession of anything else to which he is justly entitled." But most people never take possession of their own mind. Their thoughts are borrowed. Their habits are programmed. Their actions are dictated by impulse and fear, not vision and values. Look around, you'll see it everywhere. People running from themselves.
Chasing guide.
Numbing pain. Distracting themselves from the real work, the inner work. Because it's easier to scroll than to sit in silence. It's easier to blame the economy than to face your own indiscipline. It's easier to call it bad luck than to admit you didn't do the work. But let me tell you something, you don't rise by doing what's easy. You rise by doing what's right. That means making the call when you're afraid. That means getting up when every muscle in your body wants to stay down. That means shutting out the noise of the world and tuning in to the voice of your higher self, the version of you that doesn't need to be rescued, doesn't need to be pitied, doesn't need to be told what to do, because they already know. They already know the way. The question is, will you follow? Or will you keep playing small? Will you keep letting your fears dress up as logic?
Will you keep letting your past predict your future?
Or will you finally stand up, not to the world, but to the part of you that keeps losing the fight? This is the tragedy of the average person. They were never truly defeated by life. They were defeated by themselves. By the lies they told themselves. The comfort they worshipped. The fears they obeyed. They looked in the mirror and saw limitation, when they should have seen potential. They chose safety over growth.
Is over excellence.
They chose to survive, instead of rising to become. But let me tell you something the world won't. You are not here to survive. You are here to evolve. To transform. To become the kind of human that cannot be ignored, not because you're loud, but because your presence speaks of power. Because your character radiates discipline. Because your results scream mastery. And that can only happen when you own yourself.
Own your thoughts. Own your time. Own your energy. Own your flaws and your fire.
Master yourself, or be mastered by regret. Walt Disney was fired from a newspaper because they said he lacked imagination. They said he wasn't creative enough. But he didn't accept that script. He rewrote it. He bet on himself. He fought his doubts. He mortgaged his future. He mastered his own belief, until the world had no choice but to follow. And you have that same power. It doesn't matter where you started. It doesn't matter what cards you were dealt. What matters is how you play them, how you train your mind, how you shape your habits, how you sculpt your days with intention and ferocity.
Don't tell me you want success.
Show me you're willing to become the person who earns it. Because success is not something you pursue, it's something you prepare for. It's not in the big decisions. It's in the small, daily ones. The moments where no one would know if you slipped, but you would know. And if you keep slipping, eventually, you stop trusting yourself.
And when you stop trusting yourself, everything falls apart.
That's why self-mastery is the foundation. Not a strategy. Not a tactic.
À requirement.
Because without it, you'll always sabotage what you build. You'll always be the bottleneck.
The problem won't be the world.
The problem will be you. But if you master yourself, no setback can break you.
No rejection can define you. No obstacle can stop you.
Because the man or woman who has trained their mind to endure, to persist, to rise in the face of adversity, that person becomes a force of nature. That person becomes inevitable. And the question you have to answer today is this.
Will you keep living beneath yourself?
Or will you finally rise? Will you keep making excuses for the version of you that's scared, lazy, fragile? Or will you fight, not the world, not your past, not the people who doubted you, but the weakness within that keeps dragging you back? Because if you win that fight, nothing can stop you. The greatest war ever fought is not on battlefields. It's not between nations. It's not a clash of armies or ideologies.
It's the war within.
And in this war, most people are unarmed. They walk into the day without armor.
Without purpose. Without control.
They live reactive lives, ruled by emotion, seduced by ease. They've never learned to take command of their thoughts, so their thoughts command them. And thoughts are powerful. They are seeds.
What you plant, you will grow.
If you plant doubt, you'll grow hesitation. If you plant fear, you'll grow paralysis. But if you plant discipline, daily, repeatedly, deliberately, you grow freedom.
You grow courage.
You grow a mind that becomes unstoppable. That's why the legends of history weren't lucky. They weren't chosen. They were self-created. They mastered themselves when no one was watching. Abraham Lincoln, he wasn't born into power. He was born into a cabin, raised in poverty, barely educated. But he taught himself to think, to read, to lead. He forged his mind in the fire of suffering and became the steel that held a nation together. That wasn't fate. That was choice. Because every day, life gives you a choice, mastery or mediocrity, greatness or excuses, evolution or stagnation. And most people, they choose mediocrity disguised as comfort. They rationalize.
I'm too tired. I'll start tomorrow.
It's just not the right time. But those lies pile up. They calcify into regret. And the most dangerous thing you can do in life is wait. Wait to be ready. Wait to feel motivated.
Wait for the world to believe in you. The world isn't waiting for you. Time isn't waiting for you. Opportunity isn't waiting for you.
The only thing that's waiting is your future self, hoping you finally wake up.
Because no one is coming to save you. Not your boss. Not your friends.
Not your family. Not the government. It's you. Or it's no one. You either take control of the wheel, or you're dragged by the chaos of a world that rewards the bold and buries the passive. And boldness begins in the mind. It's not arrogance. It's not noise. It's quiet, consistent conviction. It's waking up and deciding, I will show up. Even when it hurts. Even when you don't feel like it. Because here's the truth, feeling like it is a luxury. Acting on it is a responsibility. Muhammad Ali said it best, I hated every minute of training, but I said don't quit. Suffer now and live the rest of your life as a champion. That's self-mastery. And until you learn to suffer with intention, you will suffer by default. You will suffer the consequences of procrastination, of poor choices, of wasted time, of potential you buried beneath convenience. But the one who suffers for something, the one who sacrifices the lower self for the higher calling, they are the one who rises.
Not au latence.
Not in one great leap, but inch by inch, day by day,
choice by choice.
And that's what this is really about. This isn't about success. It's not about status or fame or luxury. It's about becoming who you were born to be, before the world told you to play small, before doubt crept in, before you started making peace with mediocrity. There is a voice in you, buried beneath all the noise, that still knows who you are. It's the voice that gets louder when you sit in silence. It's the voice that stirs when you see greatness in others, because deep down you know, that could be me. Not if you get lucky. Not if someone picks you. but if you pick yourself and master the person in the mirror. Because the real prison isn't your circumstances. It's not your job. It's not where you grew up. The real prison is living every day with chains around your potential. And the key is discipline. The key is choosing purpose over pleasure, clarity over chaos, growth over comfort. That's the only way out. No one's born with self-mastery. You build it. You bleed for it. You break for it. And then one day you look up, and you're unrecognizable. Not because the world changed, but because you did.
And when you change, everything else must follow.
The world bends for the person who refuses to break. Not because they were born invincible, but because they chose to become unbreakable. That's the hidden truth behind every powerful life, every towering success story. There was once a version of them that almost quit. A version that cried in silence. A version that doubted, failed, stumbled. But they didn't stop there. They refused to let temporary pain become permanent defeat. They refused to stay small just because it felt safe. They refused to betray the vision burning inside them, even when no one else could see it. Because self-mastery is not a moment. It's not a breakthrough. It's not a motivational high. It's a war of consistency. It's waking up every day and choosing your higher self. Again. And again. And again.
And on the days when you don't feel like it?
That's when it matters most. That's where the separation happens. That's where the average crumble and the uncommon emerge. You want to know why most people fail? It's not because they didn't get a shot. It's not because they weren't smart, or talented, or deserving. It's because they never mastered themselves enough to withstand the storms. They built their lives like a house of cards, all surface, no structure.
No foundation.
So when pressure came, they fell. But pressure is not the enemy. Pressure is the forge.
It doesn't break the worthy.
It reveals them. And if you've been running from it, from challenge, from hardship, from the call to evolve, then you've also been running from the very thing that would make you great.
Think of Thomas Edison. 10 en fêlure.
10,000 ways the world told him, you're wasting your time. But he kept showing up. Not because the world believed in him, but because he believed in himself. Because he was master of his mind.
Déteste not ego.
That's discipline. That's inner dominion. That's the kind of belief that builds empires, that reshapes industries, that changes history. And it all begins with one question. Are you willing to do what's hard, until it becomes who you are? Because that's the only way. You can fake it for a while. You can read the quotes, watch the videos, wear the mask. But when life hits you, really hits you, it won't be your style that saves you.
It won't be your image. It'll be your core. Your discipline.
Your obsession with becoming better every single day. That's how you win. Not by impressing others, but by impressing your own soul. Not by winning fake battles online, but by winning the real ones no one sees. The battle to get out of bed when comfort calls. The battle to stay focused when distractions scream. The battle to keep going when the results don't show up, yet. The battle to believe, not because of evidence, but because of decision. Because if you can master yourself, your thoughts, your habits, your emotions, your energy, then there's nothing you cannot create. Everything you want, the success, the respect, the wealth, the freedom, the legacy, it already exists. But not in your current state. It exists on the other side of the version of you who's still addicted to easy. Still attached to excuses. Still waiting to feel ready. And until you kill that version, with action, with discipline, with truth, you will never taste the life that's waiting for you. So the question is no longer can you succeed? The real question is, can you handle the person you must become to deserve it?
Can you burn the whole story? Can you endure the isolation of growth?
Can you be relentless in a world that worships comfort? Because self-mastery is not about being perfect. It's about being uncompromising. It's about saying,
I will not betray myself for temporary pleasure.
I will not lose my future to the habits of my past. I will not die the same person I was born as. That is the warrior's vow. That is the builder's creed. That is the heartbeat of every uncommon soul that ever walked this earth. So if you hear this now, and it stirs something in you, that's not motivation.
Déteste recognition.
A part of you has always known.
You were not made to live on your knees.
You were not made to blend in, to shrink, to comply. You were made to conquer, not others, but yourself.
Because on sudodet. There's nothing left to fear.
So rise.
Rise with fire.
Rise with focus. Rise with the quiet, unshakable knowing that while most will fall, you will not.
You will rise.
Because you've made the decision no one else can make for you.
I will master myself.
And because of that,
I will master everything else.